Recordings in progress.
Well, there we go. Guys, welcome back to we actually have found a name. Only on our second podcast, which is pretty good, actually. I feel pretty much thrilled about that. This is Semi-Meaningful Conversations with Cal and Brutz.
It's so perfect. Semi-meaningful.
Yeah. We're not going to go out of our, on top of that, like that's so snooty to call ourselves Meaningful Conversations. And it's not total waste either, I don't think. I mean, we talk about some good stuff too, so it feels appropriate.
Occasionally.
Now we were sitting here chatting in the car, and he's in the car, I'm in the kitchen. And what popped into my mind is that, so yesterday, I was actually telling you this, Cal. This is what led me to this topic of the day. I got on Canva, and I got all these pictures, put them into a 5x7 design, got it printed off of Walmart for a dream board. And I've actually always been a little bit like, dream boards I'm such a minimalist. Another weird thing too. Oh, that could be a good thing to talk about. Maybe another day. I got to write this down.
Minimalism. Yeah, that's a great topic.
Minimalism is a great topic. Actually, let's talk about minimalism instead. That's actually way more interesting. I have a whole bunch of thoughts about that from yesterday. So dream boards is for tomorrow. So yesterday I went to my parents' house where they have a shipping container that I think I pulled 7 totes of my stuff out of there. And I brought it all inside. And those that don't know me will know that this outfit, if you're watching video, you can see this is like the only shirt that I wear. And now I kind of wear this one when it's cold outside to kind of go over the top to keep it a little warmer. I genuinely only wear 2 outfits ever these days. Like, I've got a nice pair of Cotopaxi joggers. They're pretty cool. And my iPad is about to die. 1 second. I also have.
How often do you do laundry?
Almost did. Well, so yeah, here's the thing. You need to get on this train here, Cal, because I've got this shirt is a merino wool, and it is genuinely the best thing that's ever happened to me. Almost. And the reason why that is because this thing doesn't have to be washed. And I mean that in like a very true sense. I went 2 months, and I mark my words, 2 months going to the gym every day, wearing it every day, and I never cleaned it. And they're like, it doesn't stink. And I'm like, we're going to test that out, because trust me, after I'm back from the gym, it doesn't smell good. And sure enough, it did not stink. So
wow,
that's my big thing now. Those joggers that I have, I use those for pretty much just anything that I don't wear. Actually, yeah, I'll show you. I got these buckled jeans, which kind of the theory was that I spend so much money on clothes that if I just take all that money and allocate it to like my 2 favorite outfits, I'll probably come out still way cheaper. So I was like, what outfit exactly do I want? I've got a nice pair of boots. I've got my buckled jeans, which are not cheap. This merino shirt is like $80. And so this is actually pretty cheap, but I want to get a merino wool version of this plaid. So like with that, I mean, I literally wear this outfit right here probably 90% of the time, and then the other outfit with the jogger like 10% of the time. But that's what I wear to the gym. I wear those joggers to the gym. I wear the joggers if I go on a hike. I wear it if I go do anything that's active. I have 1 swimsuit. I have 3 pairs of socks actually, which also works out great. They're alpaca wool, so the same thing. They're like highly antimicrobial, so they don't stink. They're super good at moisture wicking. And I think I'm gonna buy 1 more pair of socks, like some darn toughs, I think, for socks. Anyways, I don't know. There's quite a thing. But for you, I know that you really got into this well, because every time we've gone anywhere, you always have that 1 black backpack that literally has everything that you own in it.
Yeah. I don't know if you follow, there's a Reddit group called One Bag, and it's a whole community of people that
Did you have so many Reddit groups that you follow?
Oh, I love Reddit, man. um, yeah, they do they try and fit everything into one bag for a week trip, a 2 week trip, a month trip, and yeah, I've never actually posted in there, but I've got a couple of posts that I could toss in there. Just yeah, I've had one bag for 2.5 month trips, and it's yeah, carry on size. So
Yeah. Well, I think those that are listening at home are like, why would you ever do that? Like, why don't you want to look like, doesn't that drive you crazy? I people ask the time, like, don't you get tired of the outfit? I'm like, why would I get tired of it? And yes, I see what they're asking, but I love the outfit, right? This shirt is literally the most comfortable shirt I've ever worn. It looks amazing on me. I get compliments on it constantly. These pants, super comfortable. They look amazing on me. I get compliments all the time. My socks, I love them. They're incredibly comfortable. They're moisture wicking. I've got I think about like 3 or 4 hats, but I'm actually going to get rid of a bunch of them again. I have to keep on getting rid of stuff. Everything that the funny thing is a lot of stuff that I own was actually given to me. And that's why I have it. I have to keep on getting rid of stuff because I get a birthday gift or a friend buys me something. And I actually have to literally get rid of some very nice stuff. But there's something so deeply emotionally clearing about not owning a lot of things, especially in wardrobe. I don't know what it is, but it literally took off so much stress in my day. So I don't have to ever wonder what to wear every morning. And I'm serious, it's the craziest thing. I wake up, I already know what I'm going to wear. It's always the same outfit. Unless I'm doing something active, then it's that other outfit. And I can drop serious money into it. So like I'm going to upgrade those joggers, some Lululemons, and I really like Lululemon joggers. So as soon as I kind of like feel like those pants, those joggers start to wear out a little bit, or they don't look as good anymore to me, I get rid of them. I give them to somebody else. They're very nice, by the way. And then I get some Lululemon joggers, and I wear those until I get sick of them, which might take 6 months, which might take a year, even a few years. A few of these things I've had for quite a while. And the funny thing is that once I kind of know when I found something, like this merino wool shirt, I knew within about the first few weeks, it's like I'll never wear anything else. Like honestly, I think I'll never really wear anything else. So I actually think I'm gonna get another merino wool shirt to replace that other shirt that I have. Anyways, it's just kind of funny, but
I
I
want to
think
look into
philosophically,
these.
yeah, good.
I want to look into these it's a merino wool.
Merino wool. It
Merino.
will change your life.
All right, sounds good.
I'm getting you one for your birthday.
Oh, thank you.
11 months.
Should we do your top 3 tips for getting rid of stuff, going minimalist? Because it's hard.
Yeah, that's good.
I've had.
Well, how about you go first, and I'll give my top 3 tips.
All right. I was just gonna say that I've had moments where, yeah, I'll just start accumulating stuff, and then I'll look at my closet, look at my things, and say, I have a lot of things all of a sudden. But then, yeah, how do you start getting rid of things? Why do you get rid of things? I'd say my top 1 tip is pick a week and put everything that you don't use like more than a few times a week, just put it all in a box and toss it in the closet. You say, like, with clothes, with items, anything that you're not using, a couple of times a week, I'd just put it in a box, see how you do for an entire week without using those things. And then after the week is over, you go back to the box, you look in it, and you think, how was my life affected without this particular item? Okay. And then consider donating it.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool, actually.
Have you ever done something like that?
Super similar, actually, for me.
Really?
Well, let's think about with all my traveling, and moving around in different places, is that what was funny is that the stuff I think what kind of really got me, I always wanted to be like a minimalist 5 outfit guy. And I thought that was kind of like minimalism. And then I started traveling a lot, right? I have one backpack. I have to fit a drum in there, a laptop, iPad, electronics for my job. And all of a sudden I was like, I literally have room for maybe, 2 outfits. I was like, they have to be like, or I think at the time maybe 3 outfits or something. And I was like, well, shoes is another problem, right? And I was like, shoes is really tough. So talk about our sandals and our Prios here in a second, but it's kind of funny. yeah, it really was like, okay, well, what outfit do I really love? And I'm like, okay, and then with it, and all of a sudden I started realizing I've been using this for 2 months now, and I'm just as happy. Like I don't feel like, oh man, I wish I was wearing something else right now because it looks good. Nobody, like, not a lot of people notice that you're wearing the same outfit every day. Some people do, but most of them are just like, oh, it's a good looking outfit, like, you know.
Yeah.
And with you, I can actually, I mean, it's so funny because I know all of your clothes. Like I literally think I could literally describe like almost probably every item that you own because there's just not that many of them, you know?
Yep. Okay, this is kind of random, but I went shopping last night for the first time in, I mean, a year ago. I bought one shirt, and then before that, it's been a while. So I went shopping and got two different shirts that I'm going to be using for just videos and stuff, just shirts that look a little nicer. And so
Yeah.
but I'll probably get rid of two of my current shirts.
Other ones. Yeah.
Send them out, donate them, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and here's what's funny too, is whenever I'm in a store, I was at Al's. I don't know if you guys do you have an Al's down there.
I don't know.
It's just like it's just my pretty much my favorite sporting goods store. But they have a whole Patagonia section and North Face and right. I mean, a lot of really top notch clothes, Prana, all my favorite brands. And I was walking through there and I saw this really nice jacket. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I'm like, that looks really good. I'm like, nah, it's not worth me throwing away my Arc'teryx. Because that was my instant thought, right? It wasn't so much like, oh, I'd like to buy that. It was, I knew that if I bought that, I have to replace something else. And I thought, is this better than the stuff that I have? And it's no. The answer is I've got a really nice Patagonia fleece that I love. I've got a really nice Arc'teryx that I love. And the funny thing is that those are lifelong jackets, right? Like those jackets will literally last me probably 20 years. They're very well built. And I love them. I look really good in them. I get compliments on them a lot. Like, again, I have to say that compliments a lot thing because that's the thing people always assume is when you're minimalist, you look trash all the time. That you really don't. I mean, you can buy very, very great looking outfits. You just don't need a lot of them. Ironically, I'm someone who loves change, right? And we're very similar, I think, that way. We like kind of new stuff constantly. But that's what's cool is that the amount of money that I would normally spend on those clothes provides me to be able to go on trips and to go different places. And when I go there, I know the clothes I'm bringing, and it's very reliable. It's like I'm bringing home with me. And I think that's a big part of it too, is that when you're out traveling and you're bringing everything you own with you, you don't feel like you don't feel like displaced as much. I think that's kind of been my perspective.
Interesting. Like you're taking your entire home to that
Yeah.
new place. You're not leaving everything behind and going somewhere for a little bit.
Our wardrobe comes with me pretty much everywhere I go, except my cowboy boots. I do leave those. We leave those in Texas. But yeah.
I guess there's those few items that we all kind of hang on to or want. Occasionally. Yeah. For me, it's actually kind of funny. It's my paraglider, and it's just mass. It's probably the largest thing that I own. You know.
Yeah.
And so I would actually get self-conscious about traveling with it because I love traveling as a paraglider, finding new places, flying new sites. But I would get self-conscious because people kind of would know me as traveling light, minimalist, and then I'd show up with a massive backpack, and I'd just think to myself like, oh, I'm cheating. I talk about minimalism. I talk about not having a lot of things, and here I am with this 30-pound backpack, you know, and I'm just like, I promise it's just a paraglider. But I had a mentality shift a while ago that was, who cares what people expect or think? Yeah, I might be considered a minimalist, or people might say, or when people were saying, oh, you travel so light, I realized I don't need to be self-conscious or feel bad about bringing an item that I like. So I don't know, that's just a point I wanted to make, that you don't have to stick to the 100% insane minimalist style. Like, you can just be you.
Yeah. Well, and it also changes a lot too with time. the funny thing is when my income started to really fire up pretty well, it was funny because I started asking myself what I really want. And the things you want, I don't know. Everyone for a moment wants the giant house and the big yacht and this account the cost of what it does to you emotionally, and all of a sudden you don't want it anymore. Which sounds really bizarre. I know like listeners like that's not true. And I'm like, oh, it depends on the person maybe, but I feel like so much the reason we want those things is because we're hoping to buy an emotion more than we're buying the item. The big house is really just still a house. Like my brother was talking the other day, he's like, oh, I just want to go stay at one of those like $1,000 hotels. I'm like, what? Why? He's like, I don't know, just like they're just so nice and like you want all the like the luxury. And I'm like, I was like, I've been in some really nice hotels. And I'm like, honestly, it didn't do much for me. As long as the hotel's clean, right? That's all I really want, is just a clean hotel with a soft bed. Like the showers, no matter it can have a gold handle or a silver handle or made of tile or made of, some crazy like stone imported from Jerusalem. I'm still getting wet. Like
Mhm.
it's only gonna get me wet. You know what I mean? Like that's all it's gonna do. It's just like, wash me off. And so it's funny, you get those when you get past function and people like I've really clear about this. I like nice things. That's not in any way bad. It's just that I think we're trying to buy emotions often. I think that's really why like minimalism makes a lot of sense, because you realize you don't need to buy emotions. You start thinking differently about it. And then rather than buying emotions, you buy experiences. Which is a different emotion, but you process it differently. Like instead of buying a nice pair of clothes or like the nice car, right? Which is really mostly so people think you look cool, or so you get like a feeling for a little bit. But once you have it for just a short while, you're like, it's just a car. And that's why I'd much rather spend my money on
Problems and all that stuff.
yeah, yeah. And we like actually believe it. We sip the Kool-Aid of consumer marketing or consumerism marketing all day long, where we think, oh, then I'll have friends. Once I buy that house, then people will like me. I'll buy this, and then me and my wife won't fight as much. Like we look at all of our social problems that we're dealing with, and we think that the product will fix the problem, and it just won't. Like it really won't. Most of my money goes towards education, actually. Like I have almost a limitless budget when it comes to education. I will spend all my money, because I realize like if I was worth $100 million right now or $1 billion, I'm like I wouldn't buy much else, and I mean that. I'd have a house, but I don't think it'd be a very nice house because it stresses me out eventually. And what I would spend all my money on is experiences and education. Like that's it. Just learning the best stuff. I'd hire mentors. I'd hire people to help me become my better self and help me learn up here. Because that is, that connection that you get from your emotions and stuff, that's what makes you actually fulfilled and find joy in life. Not the big yacht, Anyways, what do you think, Cal?
I'm kind of disappointed because I thought that you were going to take me out on your super expensive boat one day, and it sounds like that's never going to happen.
Here's the other part of it too. You can rent stuff. Like you don't have to own something.
Yeah.
We could go to an Airbnb and rent a $10,000 a night Airbnb and bring a whole slew of people without having to own, a $5 million home. Now, granted, it's going to cost you more, but I started realizing, even like my rock climbing gear, I was like, I may not need to keep this, which is really bizarre because I love my rock climbing gear. But I was like, honestly, I only rock climb like 5 times a year. And I started doing the numbers on it. If I just go in and rented that, I'd have spent way less over the last few years, because I still don't rock climb that much, I think if you have a hobby like you with your paragliding, like you do a lot of paragliding, like that makes sense to me. But I think if you have a hobby that you only do a few times a year and you get all set up for it, you're just adding clutter to your life. So my hobbies, I'm not minimalist yet. I have a lot of stuff. Like I still have a couple motorcycles. I still have a lot of things. And the tricky part about it is that you just keep, oh, well, one of these days I might need it. Like I've got a full set of snowmobiling gear. I don't snowmobile. I don't own a snowmobile. So like, it's like a really tough thing where I'm like, oh, but when I do go snowmobiling, I like to have it with me. You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't know. It's been kind of a tough thing to figure out what's the right approach. Cross country skiing, I went 3 times last year. I'm starting to realize I might need to just rent from now on, and get rid of all my stuff, go sell it. And if I can rent, I'll go spend $200 a year renting cross country ski stuff. And I'll get the best equipment out there. It's been perfectly maintained. I don't have to worry about quality. I mean, it'll be, I'll get just what I want. Anyways, what do you think about that?
I think that there's certain items that are good to rent, and then some that are nice to own. And yeah, it depends on your hobbies, lifestyle. When you said that about cross country skiing, well, and rock climbing, and that you only went a couple of times. Sometimes renting actually pushes me to go more
Mhm.
times than if I actually own it, because for example, I went snowboarding a couple of times last year,
Mhm.
just renting equipment. And I had a buddy who bought or not snowmobile, snowboarding gear,
Mhm.
and went once this season. Granted, the season wasn't super great, but um, I don't know, the mentality of, oh, I have the equipment, I can go whenever I want, might actually deter you from going more often. I don't know. Think that's a thing.
Well, there's an availability. Like I was in Austin and they're like, oh, there's some really good rock climbing here. I'm like, oh, that's no way. I love rock climbing, but I didn't have my gear with me. It's in Idaho. And there's no way I'm gonna go rent gear if I already own it. Right.
Yeah, yeah, true.
And that's the problem. There's a lot of places that I go and I'm like, I'd love to go rock climbing today, but I'm like, oh, I don't have my gear with me. Right. The only catch is when you do it, like when I occasionally will do that 5-day rock climbing trip. It's actually really tough. That's something I'm really kind of struggling with because this next year, I mean, this summer, I'm really hoping to do like 3 dedicated 5-day long rock climbing trips. In
Yeah.
which case, it's going to make a lot of sense to own my own equipment.
Mm-hmm.
It's less used. I know that it's in really good condition. I'm familiar with it, etc. But even at that, I'm like, it might be worth even spending extra money just so I don't have to like have it. Like, which is a weird thing. I just don't want to own so much stuff. I like to own just the bare essentials for myself. I'd like to keep things where I can pack everything in the trunk of my car that I own and call it good. There's some things I won't get rid of, like my motorcycle. I just like too much. It's just that's just never gonna happen. You know, I
Yeah.
love my motorcycle and I use it. I mean, I'm actually hoping to get another one here in Texas, but I will use it every day. Like legitimately. So yeah, I think that's kind of where it is. I think that you figure it out for yourself. I also think that the money part is a little bit tricky. Like, if you have serious money and like money's never an object, I know a lot of guys they only rent things because of that. I know other guys that have a lot of money as an object and they only buy things because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just a little bit. It can be a little bit. Well, it can be a little bit deceiving actually on ownership versus renting. Things are getting cheaper and cheaper to rent from my perspective. Downhill mountain bikes, great example. Those things cost several $1,000s. I go probably twice a year. I rent it for $100 a day, and I'm good to go. Like, and like, I just think that is just the best way. And people are like, "Hey, you should buy a mountain bike." I'm like, why would I ever buy a mountain bike? And you have to store it and keep it somewhere, maintain it. No way. Like, I'd much rather just go rent a really, really nice one.
Mm.
So,
Interesting. Yeah. I was just thinking about when my family moved to Guatemala for the first time, and
mhm.
we were in the US selling all of our things, just trying to minimize how much we were bringing down and how much we had to pack into storage. We got a storage unit, and we would just kind of chip away at that storage unit every time
Mhm.
we came back to the US for a little visit. We'd go to the storage unit, look at things and say, oh, remember this? Like, just have a little bit of nostalgia and say, oh, we don't really need that and we'll get rid of it. And I remember my dad saying, my mom and I were especially donate happy. we would
Yeah.
just yeah, camping gear, whatever, like, okay, that hasn't been used in forever, let's donate it. And my dad was more practical, saying, we're what if we just have to buy all that stuff right over again? We just lost money on that. It's not smart. Why would we donate it? And I remember that happened with a lot of things. There was like, yeah, it was especially camping gear, I think. And I understand he was pretty attached to all the camping gear, and there were memories attached to everything, and we were
Yeah.
just tossing it in the donate pile, right?
Yeah.
But it ended up fitting our lifestyle, just getting rid of it. And yeah, there were memories attached to it, but um, we ended up donating it. And I mean, I don't think it's affected us too much, you know.
Right. That's just weird.
And
To get rid of it, all of a sudden, you're like, oh, we don't even really notice.
yeah, and there were certain things that we had to buy over again, and that was kind of hurt a little bit, buying something that you would just don't. I remember we donated something and then a week later bought the same thing back.
Oh,
And then
dang.
that kind of hurt, but uh in the long run, I think there's a lot of things that we think that we need and hold on to, but we actually don't. And then a couple of things, if we really feel like we need to buy it back.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Well,
it is a difficult subject. It's a very difficult subject
it's super tough. Yeah,
because
super
there's
tough.
the extremists who are like, nope, get rid of it all. And then there's kind of you and me sort of in the middle. Like
Mhm.
we know it's a good concept. We know it's a good thing to live
Yeah,
by, but also you don't want to be too extreme, right?
yeah. Well, and I think you have to like put a price tag on it. I think that's where the paradigm shifted for me, is that everything you own costs an emotion, has an emotional price tag, in the sense that if you have a giant wardrobe, every item of clothes that you own that you don't use, I think literally drains your soul. And that sounds like a crazy like mumbo jumbo thing, but I believe it. I believe stuff weighs you down. It makes you stressed out. It makes you go stir crazy. It adds more decisions to your day than you need. And so every time I've got extra stuff, I'm like, well, and it's also, there's maintenance. There is keeping it places. There's this, there's that, there's moving it. It's like all of it has an emotional toll. Whatever you own will have an emotional toll on you. And I think you have to start going, okay, hoarders. There's a reason that hoarders are often very emotionally like constricted people. I see it very, very frequently. They like the anaconda, wrapping around their soul. It's really interesting. Um, with my sales, I get to meet a lot of strange people, and the people that are hoarders are often some of the hardest for me to be around, because they just are like stir crazy. It's weird, and I look at them like, it's because you have a huge emotional weight. It's all these things that you own that you'll never use again. So actually, when I went through all my stuff yesterday, I had my mom like, hey, I actually literally like I put a pile of everything I wanted to get rid of into a pile, and then she filtered through that and said, no, keep this or throw it out, right? Because she knew that I'm just so quick to like get rid of stuff. And I was getting rid of stuff that was like, she's like, no, like this is like your study notes from when you were a kid for like this project you did. And she's like, this is actually really cool to read for your kids or your grandkids or something. This would be actually really fascinating for them. I was like, yeah, whatever. So I ended up packing all my like these files into one like little box. Like, all right, that's it. My mission stuff, when I was in Russia, I had all this stuff here. I'm like, oh, gone. She's like, no, like, don't get rid of that. Don't get rid of that. Like, I had collector coins that I was like, I don't care. I'll donate that. She's like, no, don't like donate your collector coins. I'm like, nah, we don't need anything anymore. That was cool when I was there, but I'm like, right now, like just the coin, so it's nice because I have my mom to kind of help kind of ground me a little bit. But that's what I see whenever I look at anything. Actually, I'm selling a motorcycle right now because same thing. I don't use it enough. And all I look at it as is a maintenance nightmare. I have to maintain it. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to do this. I have to do that. And there's a whole list of things that are attached to it. It's just emotional strain. Like it's just literally, I'm paying an emotional price just to own it. So anyways, that's kind of, but yeah, you were asked about like the top 3 tips. I think the number one is, I love that concept of put everything in a box or put everything like in a place. I did this actually a while ago. I decided to have clothes based on the season. And so I put everything into a big tote, and I was like, I'll just switch during the season. All of a sudden I didn't switch it. And then I went into that box and I was like, oh, I pulled out like one shirt. And then for summertime, I only used that one shirt. And all of a sudden I found myself like with this giant tote of clothes that I thought was minimalism. Because I had like 5 or 6 outfits for each season or something. And all of a sudden I was like, nah, I just got rid of all of it. Just actually yesterday, I got rid of the whole box. And a lot of them were nice clothes. Like these weren't like trashy clothes either. Very carefully like chosen. But even at that, it's like, I just don't need it. Again, that emotional price. So I would say definitely, I love that. I'd say tip number 1 for sure is, if you were trying to go minimalist, just start finding out what you need and what you don't, and kind of let go. We hold on so tightly because we're like, what if? I think that energy is actually really toxic. I think it's really, really bad for you. You want to be smart about like I'm a big believer in food storage. I'm a big believer in having things for an emergency, 100%. But beyond that, I think having like that big, what if I need this? What if I have to buy this someday? I think it actually like can cut off the flow of wealth in your life even, because you're always so stressed about money and like, oh, what, I can't afford to buy that again, or whatever. And so you're putting yourself in a really minimal or in a really scarcity mentality about items and things.
Mm.
So yeah, I'd say, yeah, definitely put everything aside, use what you use. And at the end of a year, like, especially after like a year for sure, like if you took everything you owned and put it in like a couple of totes and then only pulled it out, the stuff that you like needed to use, and then at the end of it in a few months said, am I like any more happy? Am I any less happy because I only have these things? And like, okay, get rid of it, just go on.
Yeah.
Get rid of it all. It's much better, I think, to buy stuff again than it is to hold on to a bunch of junk. That's my opinion. Even if it costs more money, because again, that emotional price is heavy. So
I agree.
I don't know, other two tips. Yeah,
well, real quick along with that, that is actually what helped my dad in the end get rid of those, like the camping gear and everything like that, was knowing that somebody else was gonna get it for cheaper. And it just puts you into a giving mentality. So instead of like a, what if I need this in the future, what if I like hoard, keep it, just turn it into more of a giving mentality. Like, I haven't used this for a while, somebody else will probably need to use it, and if I need to buy it again, then I did a kind thing for somebody.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think it's spot on. Yeah, and that's funny enough, because my motorcycle, I'm hoping to sell it to a buddy for a really good deal. He's never had a motorcycle before, and I'm really excited for him. I'm like, that's because he's going to use it and enjoy it so much more than I could. And my Jeep, I love my Jeep, but I'm like, I want to give it to someone who's going to enjoy it and love it the same way that I did. Because I just don't need it anymore, right? It's bogging down my life. It's slowing me down. So yeah, that's a great way to look at this as a giving mentality. Yeah, there's also, I think there's a book that people should read. I think, I don't remember the name of it exactly, but I think it's called The Magic Power of Tidying Up Your Life or something. It's kind of about feng shui. You have a spiritual attachment to everything you own, and too many things draw too much from your soul. And like the way she goes into all kinds of stuff, though. She's all about like putting your clothes in certain color orders that like actually flows better with your mind. There's like positions of like the way that your couch should face and all this. It's really interesting. But the Japanese are really big into that feng shui, where everything has a place. Like I think like every couch is supposed to face like east for or whatever direction for a specific reason. And it's like aligning your chakras or something. So don't know how much I believe it for sure, but I think it's very interesting to look into.
Very interesting. Yeah, I've heard a little bit about feng shui. I'm not sure how our internet connection's doing, but you keep cutting out. Do I keep cutting out?
It's getting a little choppy. I think we're also at time. So
are we really? Awesome.
Yep.
Well, great chat. That was a meaningful conversation, I'd say.
Listening today. That was a meaningful conversation. Yeah, I thought about calling it semi-meaningful conversations about nothing in particular, but I was like, that's too long.
I like semi-meaningful conversations.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us today. Tune in tomorrow for the next episode of Semi-Meaningful Conversations with Cal and Bruns.
Peace.